Hi, and happy holidays if you're celebrating. And if you're not, happy everything else. It's Chris Grimm. This is Deep Work Fast, where every week on Tuesdays in this time slot, I bring you for 20 minutes or less. I try to keep myself to 20 minutes. I bring you tools, ideas, concepts to help you, when you're ready, be the best you can be at work and at home and of quickly as possible, right? Because when you're ready, you don't want to wait. So let's get into it. This is the last in the series. This is our third week, based on the blog I dropped that was about overcoming grief and loss, specifically for people who maybe have been laid off, maybe got fired, maybe you've been demoted, maybe your whole business is going out of business, whatever, major loss. Um, Through this process in the last few weeks, people have been talking with me about this, and it's interesting how we experience loss and how intense it can feel, specifically when people either A, don't know the change is coming, right? Or you experience a lot of change at the same time. And then I've been talking with people about also in this last few weeks with Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa and other things that people celebrate, seeing more people in social and family situations also for a lot of people is making the anxiety around whatever feelings you have about the change feel worse, right? Because you have to talk about it. People are going to ask you questions. And so in coaching, I've been processing with people a lot. And I thought today, let's focus on that. There are some tools in the blog. You're welcome to get that. And thank you, Heather, for putting that in the chat. But I want to talk to you about some stuff that is alluded to in the blog, but is not in the blog. So I'm also going to give you some other resources because I want to talk with you about how to prepare for, and how to handle conversations that may feel uncomfortable if you're still processing whatever it is that has changed or you feel loss about. And maybe you feel anxiety before you go to the party or the family dinner because you know either people are going to ask you about it or they're not because they're afraid to ask you about it, right? Like, oh, that's real. And so I want to acknowledge that that's real. I want to acknowledge that you should just take a deep breath and realize that it would be normal to feel like that. And I want to help you prepare, like I said, and be able to handle it in a way that doesn't feel bad to you or trigger you more. So let's talk about also a really important part of this. So what most people do, get ready, they don't tell the truth. And so I want to tell you that is not a great strategy, even though most of us usually default to kind of avoiding or not telling the real story because it's too painful for us to talk about. I know I've done it. You have done it. Other people are doing it. And oftentimes we know that about each other. And it's kind of a weird game, right? It becomes like the elephant in the room, which is a phrase we use when there's something there that no one wants to talk about or no one knows how to talk about it. And again, I want you not to have that because, first of all, withholding or not telling the truth eventually will catch up with you. It'll feel bad first on the inside because you're not being congruent. That means that you're not aligned with yourself when you're not telling your truth. And also other people know it. And so, of course, then that could be a credibility issue or hurt you later if you are in a job search, for instance, and you want those people to help you, right? You don't want to have to face then that a month ago they saw you at a party and you told them a story that wasn't true. Not great. Not the residue I want you to have following you around in your life either. So let's try to stay integral. That means in our integrity. And I'm not saying, by the way, that you have to air your dirty laundry. So I want to talk about this first, which is you getting clear on your story, right? Getting clear what's true first and foremost, completely, and then what you can talk about or what you have been talking about and how you want to talk about this with other people, right? Those are not the same, right? You experienced something And that has depth and breadth, right? There's lots of what we call sensory data in every experience that we have, right? It's the factual things that actually happened. And then, of course, we make meaning of all those things. So we add to that as we craft a story inside our head around why something happened, etc. Not all of that is shareable, and it shouldn't be. Just because it's your narrative on the inside and how you are dealing with something and making meaning shouldn't be the story that you share with everybody. It might be with your partner or someone that you are best friends with, or your therapist or your coach, right? That's okay. Those are safe spaces usually. I hope for you that you have at least one person that you can completely be yourself and share every emotion and share every part of the story. But in all of your other interactions, that's not helpful for you and it's not helpful for them. So, the first thing I want to guide you to is a tool that I don't know I've ever shared on Deep Work Fast, but in coaching, some people are going to know this model. And Heather, I don't know if you put it there yet, but if you want to put William Bridges up there. So, there's another link that she's putting, thank you, in the chat, and it's called The Three Questions. And they were developed by the late Dr. William Bridges. He's a very, very famous psychologist who helped people deal with change and had a whole model that helped leaders with large scale change, but not the change management part, the part about the people. And so the William Bridges transitions model, that's what it's called. So if you click that link, you're going to go to a blog on the Bridges website that actually has some information around their model. You can play around with it if you want. The model is similar to the one I shared a few weeks ago, which is the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross model around death and dying and grieving. But the difference is that the William Bridges model that I'm giving to you today helps you help yourself move through and get real about what is actually changing. So the three questions, so no big surprises here. The first question is, what is actually changing, right? What is changing? Real life, sensory data, factual. The second one is, what will be different because of that change? And then the third question is, who is losing what in relation to this? Or who perceives that they are losing what? It might be you, it might be someone else, it might be members of your family, it might be your team members. So let's do that again so that you can help yourself. And again, this is a tool that's going to help you think clearly first before you talk to people about anything related to change, your work, loss, etc. So just park that for a second. Let's go back to you. So the reason the three questions are important and almost magical is because I said magical, they're made to help you psychologically get clear and move forward based on reality, not the way your brain might be making meaning to the changes. Let's talk about that. This is deep work, hopefully fast, right? So when a change happens, and you've probably heard me say this before, usually when you experience a change, it's not one thing. So I'm going to use, for example, things I'm coaching people on right now who have recently lost their jobs. And that might be you. I hope not, but if it is, I'm glad you're here. In that one change, there's probably 10 other changes. So, what is actually changing is an important first question for you to get clear about. You might actually even want to make some notes, or like I said, talk to someone objective and break it down. Like, what is actually changing for me? Well, when you lose your job or when you quit your job, there's a sense of a whole bunch of loss there because the title is going away. Maybe your physical office is going away. Maybe your pay structure or pay is going away or changing. Maybe you've worked there a long time and your identity was very attached to the place and the people and the brand. Um, can you see where I'm going here? There's just a whole bunch of things that are changing. It is healthy for you to sit down and even in like 10 or 15 minutes while you're waiting at Starbucks or something, to make the list of the things that are actually baked into that change and get really clear. And don't add anything to it. Like, don't put on that list emotional things or things that you're making up related to the change. Like, let me give you an example. Someone might say, well, my title just went away, so these people are never going to call me back. That's made up. You don't know if someone's going to call you back until the day that you call them, leave a message, and then they call you back or not, right? So what ends up happening is we experience those change and then we add all this meaning to it, related usually to fear, not related to reality. And then we hear other people's stories and we assume we could experience the same thing, right? I had someone say to me recently, everybody else that has been laid off from our company in the last 2 years is having a really hard time getting a job. So what do you think her assumption was? She added to her story that it was going to be hard for her also to get a job. We don't know if that's true right now. So my coaching is, please don't put that as a part of your story. It's not your story at this moment in time. So don't put it in there. So, okay, number one, what is actually changing? You make the list. And then the second one is what will be different based on each of those changes. Sometimes there's not a lot that will change. Like, your life is just going to be like, now you don't have an office to go to in the beginning, right? The big change is that you don't have as many emails. You don't have as many phone calls to make, right? The workload might go to probably not zero, but it will go down and you won't have all those meetings to go to. All of that stuff related to your calendar will change. And then you might experience other changes. I don't know what those are, but it would be good for you to get clear on those. What is changing and what will be different because of that? And then, like I said, the third question is also very important. And oftentimes people don't know how to answer this question. And I find in corporate environments, when we're creating change on purpose, like restructuring, for instance, or job changes, role changes, expanding or shrinking someone's job. All of that happens. And oftentimes we don't take the time to go through these questions. And so people are making a whole bunch of things up, a lot of assumptions, a lot of things, and they swirl around that and get caught in the emotion. And sometimes the shame and the guilt of it and the despair and the fear, because they're projecting all the worst possible scenarios into the situation. So I like to anchor people back to these questions. That's what the William Bridges 3 questions are for, is to anchor us into reality so that hopefully we can stop your brain from spinning out of control based on fear and those intense emotions that probably are going to just take your energy and put it in places that are not useful. The last question, let's come back to it, is who is losing what? So that's why I said sometimes it's more than you, and you should get clear about that. So let's go back to the example I was using of the person who was laid off from their job, right? So what is changing? I got laid off. Are all the changes baked into that, right? I don't have an office to go to. I don't have people calling me. All those changes. What's different about that? Well, all of a sudden I got all this time on my hands and I don't travel anymore, or whatever those different things are. And then who's losing what is important, because you start with yourself and you say, so in this, what's actually triggering me the most? What did I lose? I lost status. I lost money. I lost affinity with people that was important to me. Get real with yourself about what it is, because that's where your grief and your loss is living, right? Is in what you believe you've lost. And if some of your family members, particularly your partner, your kids, maybe your team members that you used to be their boss or you used to work with these people for a long time. Well, they might have lost too. And the reason that third question is important is because you understanding kind of who's in this with you is important, right? We're a tribe. You have a tribe of people and they care about you and you care about them. And when change happens, oftentimes this is the group of people that, we need to help us recover so that we can quickly move on to our next amazing success. But we can't do that if we don't talk to each other with some reality and help each other have a safe space to talk about what is real and then move forward. And if you've been coached by me, I'm a huge fan of helping everyone move forward as quickly as we can without a lot of drama, if that's possible. And so the last few minutes here, I want to talk about moving away from kind of this mental and emotional practice, if you will, of answering the questions and getting clear and moving to a space where you're actually talking to people and you can have integrity and tell the truth without dumping all of your intense emotions, maybe negative feelings into every conversation. And I know that's why people avoid the topics because they're afraid, right? Nobody wants to like break down and cry at a party. Well, maybe some people do, but I'm guessing you don't. And I don't, right? And it happens. We talk about the things that are important to us. Someone asks us a question, and if we're still triggered and that wound is open or it feels open to us, then your eyes might well up. You might get embarrassed, like whatever. You have your own emotions and they are yours, but you don't have to bring them to every family gathering and party in a way that keeps you from having a great time. So, what I'd love for you to do is practice with yourself and maybe someone who's safe how you're going to talk about your situation without it making you feel bad or having other people also feel bad for asking or not knowing how to have the conversation and it becomes awkward. And so some of the suggestions I have for you is, first of all, stay away from made up information or gossip. Just don't do it. Like just whatever is related to your situation, just avoid talking about things that are untrue or things that you don't know if they're true and they're gossipy. Don't do that. It's bad energy. It eventually makes you look bad. And it's not a good use of the interaction, specifically in the holidays where people might be drinking and there's liquid courage and also loose lips. And you just don't need any of that related to you and your situation. So let's stay away from MSU, making things up, and gossip. The second thing is part of your truth is how you're doing. And so you might just want to stay there and practice talking about it in a very real but not too dramatic way. And so it might sound like this. This has been hard for me. So I'm not going to lie. But we don't have to get into it here because I want to have fun tonight. And I know you do too. But thank you for asking. You can do that. You can do just what I just did. And later there's a replay of this. You can replay it and practice. It is okay for you to acknowledge that this has been a hard time for you. And you can say, I don't want to ruin everybody's fun. So let's have lunch if you really want to talk with me about how I'm doing, or if you want to help me, that's great. But let's not do it here. And most people can handle that, by the way. Most people respect that you're not going to fake it. I'm fine. Everything's great. They know it's not. They know anything related to your situation and you're not fine. People know you're not fine. And if people say like, I'm worried about you, sometimes for people that is triggering. I've had people call me for coaching because they're like, why is everybody calling me saying they're worried? Well, because they care. And when people care and something bad has happened, like a layoff, like getting fired, like a whole business shutting down, of course, people who care are going to ask you about it. But you don't have to go to the depths. You don't have to get hijacked. You don't have to let even despair and depression, if you're having it, become the focal point of the conversation. Because I know you don't want that, and neither do the other people. But you can be honest and say, I'm having a hard time. Or you could say, I was having a hard time and it's getting better, actually. And I'm looking forward to 2024, where I know there's a lot of opportunity out there. And after the holidays, I'm going to jump right in and start talking to people. So if you have anybody you know, think I should talk to, give me their number. You can do that. Even if you're introverted and you don't like talking to people, you can do what I just did. So if you need help, you know where to find me. I'm going to keep this. Oh, 20 minutes, we're over. Ah, I need to set a timer. Anyway, happy holidays. If I can help you in any way, you know where to find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm everywhere. So I will see you in 2024. We're skipping next week so that all of us can have a break. I will be back on January 2nd, I think, with more Deep Work Fast. Okay, people, go get them. Bye.